to order so we can get moving here.
That's great.
All right. And Lauren couldn't be here today, so I am the one running the meeting today. My first time, so bear with me if I have questions. Welcome to the June 28th, Tuesday, June 28th meeting of the Ann Arbor Parks Advisory Commission. This meeting is being held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and or the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 877-853-5247 or another of the published numbers and enter meeting ID 949-7173-0458. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn. Select government channel. All right. So Josh, will you please call the roll?
Of course. Commissioner Borgsdorf. Commissioner Kraut.
Here from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner
I was
London.
having some trouble with my display, but I fixed it now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner London. Commissioner Marson.
I'm present in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Morrison.
Present in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner O'Connell.
Present in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Ramaswamy. Commissioner Skylas.
Present in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Councilman Member Briggs.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Grant.
Also here in Ann Arbor.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. You should have before you the agenda, and are there any changes requested? And if not, then the agenda is approved. And we'll move on to the first public comment. Is there anyone on the line?
There is currently nobody on the line for public comment.
Okay, so there will be another public comment at the end of the meeting. So if anybody is hoping to speak, we can wait till then.
Okay.
All right, next up is the approval of the minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Rachel. So we had Paige as first, Rachel as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay. Minutes pass. All right. Okay, so on to presentations. And the first presentation that we have today is from Friends of the Skate Park, an update from them. And we're going to have Chris Castle and Nina Juergens from Friends of the Skate Park. It looks like Chris has joined. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. I'm afraid Nina won't be joining us.
Okay.
But I'm Chris Castle. I'm the president of the Friends of the Friends of the Ann Arbor Skate Park. I've got a presentation prepared here, so let me see if I can share my screen, and hopefully this all works. Oh,
Chris, it looks like my administration is host only.
can I send you a PDF or?
Yep, that'd be great. Sorry.
All right, that's okay. Let me just bear with me for a moment. Would it be PDF or PowerPoint be better?
PDF would be great.
Okay. And I am Sending that over to you right now.
If that happens again, Josh, I think your other option is to add a co-host.
Oh, you're right. I will make sure that for our next presentations, I do that.
All right, should be on its
Ruth
way.
seems to know her Zoom functionality.
There's reasons why I'm
I've
not responsible for leading these very often.
I've spent far too much time on Zoom, and yet I still sometimes forget to unmute myself.
It happens to all of us.
Chris, I just made you a co-host. See if you can.
Oh, let's see. Bring this back over here. Oops. All right, well, let's see if I can make this work.
There you go. I can see your screen.
Yeah.
All right, I guess everybody will see my notes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. First, thanks all for having me to present this update to you here in June. It's been a few years since we've touched base with all of you, and we appreciate the support. Quick agenda here. We'll talk about our board. We'll talk about the programming that we're engaging in, some of the challenges we're facing, our fundraising efforts, our outlook, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions. So let's start with our board. First up is me. I'm Chris Castle. I'm the president of the Friends of the Ann Arbor Skate Park. I am a founding member of the nonprofit, and I was previously the treasurer. I'm a lifelong skateboarder, and I live here in Ann Arbor with my family, and then I work as a software architect at Duo Security. Nina Jurgens is our treasurer. She's also a founding member of the Friends, and she was previously the president. She's a longtime Ann Arbor resident, and she owns Salon Vertigo and previously Acme Mercantile downtown. Pete Pasquay is our secretary. He is also a longtime skateboarder, longtime Ann Arbor resident. He's an educator, teaching with AAPS for 18 years, and now he's a lecturer at the U of M School of Education. He's new to the board yet this year, and he's working on a new initiative that we have called the Peace Skate program. Crystal Partington is a longtime board member, also a founding member. She owns a landscaping business here in Ann Arbor, and she has been involved with most of our youth initiatives, including All Girls Skate, as well as our street team. And finally, our youth board member, Lucy Castle Kelly, who's incidentally my daughter. She's an incoming senior at Community High. She's a gymnast, competes at the Excel Diamond level, and she also teaches and coaches at her gym. And she's one of our all-girls skate participants who has become an instructor over the last few years. So sort of a nice little story there. So that's the board. There's just the five of us. So let's talk a little bit about our programming. I'm sure you're all familiar with All Girls Skate. It's been running since 2014, the first summer the park was open. And its goal has been to increase girls and women's participation in skateboarding. It's been pretty successful. We've reached hundreds of girls and women over the years. In 2020, due to COVID, we were unable to run the program. And in 2021, we ran it at a sort of reduced capacity, just I think a couple months. We normally run it 4 months in the year. This year, we're back with a few changes. Previously, we offered unlimited participation for instruction. We had some scalability issues there. So now we are limiting the participation to 20 instructees per session. We have 3 to 4 instructors who help out during that time. And the other change we've made is that we've changed from a lending model for equipment to a bring your own equipment model. And we offer equipment for sale to participants at a dramatically reduced cost. And one thing that we're working on this year is to sort of expand the program through grassroots participation. A number of the girls' parents have indicated they would really like to sort of spearhead, sort of more informal gatherings at the skate park for their daughters to participate. And also we're encouraging previous participants to come back, those who don't need instruction, and just, be there and show support and have fun. So it's been a wildly successful program from our perspective. New this year is our Peace Skate program, and that's in collaboration with the Peace Neighborhood Center over there on Maple Road. And today was, in fact, the very first session, first 2 sessions, in fact. And its goal is to increase diversity at the skate park and eliminate barriers to access. And those barriers are both economic and social. The program is a 6-week long program with weekly sessions. There are 2 sessions per day. We have a maximum of 12 kids per session, so that's up to 24 kids per week. And we have 2 mentors instructing the kids. And these mentors have a lot of overlap with our all-girls skate program. So they're well-known and seasoned instructors that we've been working with for years. And one of the nice things that we're doing with this program is that we are providing the equipment at no charge to the participants, and they can keep that. And so we're providing a skateboard, a helmet, and pads. So today it started out at the Peace Neighborhood Center. And I believe next week we move to the skate park itself. So our organization is without challenges. The last few years have been really difficult from a funding perspective. A lot of philanthropy moved towards, things caused by the COVID pandemic, food insecurity, homelessness, things of that nature. And, recreational opportunities sort of fell by the wayside, which, is expected and right. But it's been a challenge for us to continue to raise funds in that environment. We have had some challenges with youth participation over the last few years. Once the park was built, it's increasingly difficult to convince kids to participate in something when the tangible results of our project are already in place. And finally, our most sort of challenging thing is the fact that we are a very small nonprofit and we have very limited resources. I mentioned the funding challenges, of course, but we have a small board. It's difficult to, execute on ambitious plans. And, the one thing that's really interesting is that the success and popularity of all girls skate has actually been a bit of a double-edged sword for us, which required some of those process changes that I referred to earlier. We are exploring solutions to all of these challenges. We have our youth organizations in place that we're trying to leverage in order to get more youth involvement. We have grassroots all-girls skate programming, sort of self-organizing, which is really great to see. And we're exploring a lot of options for fundraising, which we'll talk about next. One of the things that we really hope to have happen over the next year or so is to make all-girls skate self-sustainable. Historically, we have not solicited any donations from parents or participants, and we are sort of revisiting that decision to see, especially in response to parents who say, how can we support this? So we're going to be, sort of asking folks to chip in here and there, if as as they want to, right? It's certainly not mandatory. We continue to offer this free of charge. We're going to have a renewed focus on merchandise and bricks. The Parks Department has generously offered to sell t-shirts for us online at no cost to us, which is great. And, you know, one thing that we've done in the past with great success is bake sales, you know, sort of spearheaded by our youth organization. They're surprisingly lucrative. So that's something we're going to be starting up again this year. And we've been exploring a lot more grants, including things like the U of M Nonprofit Management in Sports grant, which we applied for, and actually gives us a really nice package to use for other granting organizations. Our maintenance endowment at the Ann Arbor Community Foundation is in really good shape, and we're able to leverage some of those funds to fund some of the hardscape improvements that we'd like to have happen. And we're also seeking sustained funding for our Peace Skate through corporate sponsorships, et cetera. And we're working with the Peace Neighborhood Center on that as well. So our outlook, the park is really well used year round. I don't know if you're aware, but people come out and shovel the snow in the winter. There's some sort of famous photos of that happening over the years. I want to offer you a huge appreciation for the support with the lights. You know, this is the thing that kids have been asking for years, and folks are really happy to see this happening. So thank you. And we're planning to do a couple of smaller scale events this year. We're working with the Parks Department on sort of a food truck concept, hopefully coupled with music events, bands and DJs at the park, as well as some contests. Historically, we've done you know, some sort of seasonally themed contests. Halloween, for example, is a popular one. So those are some things that we have planned. Which brings us to questions.
Thanks, Chris. So do we have any questions from the group? Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, this was so exciting. I do have a couple of questions. The first is, this is just coming from excitement, whether or not you have any potential dates around those summer events.
We are working on getting those scheduled. You know, like I mentioned, because we're a small board, we have limited availability and everybody's on vacation this year. And we're working, we have active discussions right now trying to figure out dates. But as soon as we've identified them, we will keep you apprised.
Yeah, that would be great. If we could get an email about that, I'd love it. I'd love to come. So that would be wonderful. And then my second question is whether or not you have anyone, like any one approach planned for reaching out to some of those participants' parents. I think it's fantastic that you were given feedback that says that they would like to contribute. That's how you know that you're starting your fundraising efforts in a healthy place, because you have that interest. But I was wondering what your thoughts were and how you were going to approach them.
Well, I mean, for starters, what we're doing is we are essentially putting out a fishbowl for donations, you know, a virtual fishbowl. We have a Venmo account that we're starting with, as well as an actual physical jar for donations, right? And so that's the first step. And we plan to do that with our next session, which I don't think I mentioned. They run the second and fourth Sunday mornings of every month during the summer into the fall. So in July, we'll be starting that effort. Apart from that, we do have mailing lists that we have been, you know, somewhat reluctant to use in the past to solicit fundraising for fundraising. But you know, that's certainly on the table.
Well, if you do reach that decision that you'd like to tap into those mailing lists, if you would like any assistance with that, please do let me know. I'm a fundraiser by trade. I don't know if you need that kind of help, but if I can help, please let me know.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Erica.
Thanks. And I am new as a liaison to Parks Commission, so I haven't seen one of the presentations before. I know kind of what the, at least I suspect I know what the original mission of the Friends group was. But I'm curious, one thing you didn't mention is sort of what your stated mission is now. I'm kind of guessing what it is based on that it's to engage more people with the sport, but I'm curious if it's more than that as well.
Yeah, that's our mission in a nutshell, is to promote skateboarding in Washtenaw County, Ann Arbor in particular.
Okay, thanks.
Ruth, you're next.
Yeah, I just, when you talk about fundraising, I'm just curious, like, about how much a year are you trying to raise?
So our programming this year costs about $7,000 to $8,000. So on the order of $7,000 to $8,000. Certainly we would like to be more ambitious than that, but in terms of what our actual operating costs are, that's what we're looking at this year. Certainly less than $10,000 a year.
I had a question as well, and that is, so are you involved at all in funding the maintenance for the skate park? And then sort of a related to that is you mentioned that you have a Ann Arbor Community Foundation endowment, and how is that funded regularly?
Yeah, so the endowment is specifically for maintenance at the skate park. And we, as part of the original operating agreement that we signed with the city at the outset of this project, we funded that with $100,000, and it has grown since then with, the stock market up to about $160,000 roughly, give or take, depending on what day it is. So we have a substantial chunk of that additional money that's available for granting on a biannual basis. And as of yet, we have not actually used those funds. We have, certainly worked with the city several times on maintenance projects and been, and essentially those funds have been refused from us. So we certainly appreciate that. We do intend to use some of those funds to contribute to the lights project.
Yeah, the parks has historically kind of looked at the maintenance and identified what we've had to do at different points as being not as substantial. So we've been able to absorb those costs through the parks millage funds, so that if and when there is a major expense that comes about, that we will have this to work with the skate park group with. So that's why they've been refused in the past to balance for when we need a bigger chunk with that. So. And Chris, just and for PAC as well, I mean, anytime you need to promote anything, please let us know. We can always put it out through our Gov delivery. Happy to support with that, whether it's the events, whether it's the all girl skates, whatever kind of thing. It's a great partnership. Parks really relies on the Friends of the Skate Park to be kind of the eyes and ears at the park on a regular basis and manage some of the day-to-day things and some of the cleaning. Because without them, it would be a much different facility. So we greatly appreciate the support that your group provides.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Chris? If not, thank you so much for coming, Chris. It's good to get to know the skate park a little bit better.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks for the support.
All right. Okay, next we have a presentation from our fire chief, Mike Kennedy, about the Fire Station 4 and Scheffler Park update.
Hi there. Good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see okay? Good.
Yes, looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So was last in front of this body in September of 21. Yeah, everything kind of starts blending together after a while, so I apologize. So September 21 last before all of you, and we've had a fair amount of work since then. So just to kind of review, Fire Station 4 at Platt and Huron Parkway. This is the old station, kind of in the middle center. The proposed station, so the physical building itself is completely on the parcel that's the parcel that City of Ann Arbor property for the fire station. The question, I guess kind of the matter involving Park Advisory Commission and Scheffler Park is the future of this half court that's just south of the station. So we'll kind of jump to the bottom part of the screen in a bit. So what this is showing is a schematic of an overhead of the drive-through. And so what's needed for Parkland is the driveway to allow the connection to align the exit from the station to be at the signal controlled intersection of Platt and Huron Parkway. And then this down here is parking, and it some parking spots would be designated for fire employees. Other parking spots would be for the park. The intention was also for there to be some sort of EV charging consistent with the A20 provisions. And we've been, Dr. Stoltz has been heavily involved with this project since the get. So this is just kind of a little bit different kind of overhead view. So total of 8 spots, again, showing the turning radius. So these images have been shared publicly before. We didn't have these images a year ago. So I don't, the members of this body may have seen them before, may not. Council members, I would imagine it probably, these hopefully look a little familiar. So this is looking north. So this is the so kind of to our left is Platt and Huron Parkway. One thing that has changed is this is a kind of earlier version where the mechanical and engineering staff that are working on the design thought that we would need additional PV, the photovoltaic arrays over the cars, and we don't need that. They were able to put enough of that on the roof to achieve the net zero that we're trying to achieve with this building. So these carports will not exist. The only reason for the carports was to get additional solar footprint for the building. So the parking is still needed, but the carport is not. So kind of a ground level, looking a little kind of northeast. So this is looking south. So if you're on Huron Parkway looking south, this intersection is Platt and Huron Parkway. So we would have a singular egress and exit. And one of the biggest issues with this station now is that our apparatus literally have to back in off of Huron Parkway. And for those that are familiar, it's a blind curve. There's an elevation change. The traffic safety engineers basically have a seizure when I tell them we back in off the roadway. So that's one of many issues that we are solving with this station. So in working with Hillary and Parks, the decision was, what could we do as a quid pro quo in terms of if we need to use the basketball court, what would be what could we trade off with that? I see Hillary's on, so I'll let her jump on with any of this. I was prepared from anything from a roller coaster to a park bench. And so I think the maintenance costs of a roller coaster were probably a little prohibitive. So the decision was to replace the court with a full-size court. And so to do and that came from Park. So I don't know, Hillary, if you want to speak to that, but that was the direction we received from Parks of long-term maintenance as a replacement of what was being lost.
Yeah, that's correct. And, I think it was, an opportunity to upgrade that facility that's being impacted. So half court, obviously not able to have games at. So, we went to the community with a few options for where a new full basketball court could be located. And we were open to other ideas if we heard from them that, a different facility would be preferred. But it sounded like everyone was in agreement with, that path forward.
So in order for us to go forward to the community, what you're seeing here is this $55,000 was an additional service request. A3C, which is a local architect, they're the ones that won the award for the design and engineering of the station. As part of the station design, they also had a environmental architect on board. And landscape architect on board. And so the costs that are reflected here were paid out of the fire station capital improvement fund. So this did not come out of Parks. And this includes this doesn't include the construction, but this includes all of the engineering and the construction management. The construction of this the intent would be this would be part of when we go out to bid this project, this would be included. AC3 would be responsible for the building of the fire station, and they would also be responsible for the building of the basketball court as part of this project. So that's there's some savings there, but so what happened last fall into the spring was them coming forward with some concepts and us working with park staff of what was palatable, and then the community outreach piece. So we followed the standard Parks guidelines for the mailers. And Hillary, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe we actually expanded the normal radius. I think the normal radius is a 1/4 mile, and I think we even went up to a 1/2 mile on this.
Correct. Yeah, 1/2 mile, and I think even a little beyond, just to capture all like the contiguous neighborhoods that would be interested in this project. Yeah, correct.
So this shows using the city's GIS system all of the parcels that received notification of the public engagement meeting. So there were just over 1,700 mailers that went out, and that the mailers advertised 2 things. On May 17th, we had a Zoom meeting, and it was Heather from Community Engagement, Hillary, and myself. And there was also a website with a feedback link that members of the community who couldn't attend the Zoom meeting could go to that website. And that website, the feedback link is not live anymore, but the website's still live, and that's on the fire department page on a2gov.org. Not a lot of feedback, which I guess was good. It was pretty limited. We tried everything we could. There were 10 people that attended the Zoom meeting. There was 0 opposition to all of this. They all were in agreement with it. There was a lot of other suggestions for Scheffler Park and wanting crosswalks, and a lot of other things got brought up that were a bit out of scope. But we were happy to listen. But no, there wasn't any negative feedback that we received during the meeting or on the hot link that was up there, where somebody was like, absolutely not. No, this is a horrible idea. So with that, so we did a couple of options, and I'll kind of jump forward a little bit. So can just kind of put things. So current station, current court, and there's currently I think what was intended to be a field hockey court at this location. The field hockey court could use a little TLC, and so the idea was that this would be resurfaced. We would to be multi-use. So and I'm sure Hillary, I learned more about athletic court surfacing that I ever knew possible as part of this project. So Hillary and Josh could explain, but I guess this would be in alignment with normal park surfaces, and I'll let Hillary talk to that.
Yeah, I think the thinking was it was originally, I think, a roller hockey court that hasn't been heavily used and is, in need of renovation as is. And so there's an opportunity, because it's similar in size to the junior high basketball full court, that we could, make it the basketball court. And instead of putting on the usual protective surface that we have, we could leave that off, because that doesn't work with roller skates or whatever you call them. So by leaving that off and just having it asphalt with striping on it, it could serve both uses, basically. If people were, because they do have like temporary movable nets that they bring out for the roller hockey. So it's a nice way to upgrade that facility and kind of expand use for both basketball and roller hockey.
So this is a picture of the current facility, and as Hillary had mentioned, the portable nets that are currently there. The idea is that there would be fencing on both ends and on the south side, so stray balls wouldn't go into the roadway. I think the idea was to leave the north side open. There's a t-ball, softball, diamond just on the north side. So yeah, as Hillary mentioned, using the asphalt and the fencing as well. There were, and we had covered most of this. So we did put out to the public the 2 additional options. Alternative 1 was utilizing the current surface. There's a parking lot there, so it would be taking over that parking lot and using that. And then the other alternative was kind of on this east side. This would have involved a lot of land balancing. And we did get feedback from several community members that I guess there's just enough of a bump that some younger children use it for sledding. And so the only one that people didn't want, so there were a lot of people that said, we don't like number 2. Everyone was okay with what we had put forward as an option. We're working with the Drain Commission on this, and this also limits the additional impervious surface as part of that. So next steps with this, the architecture and engineering is funded. This project is estimated at $8.3 million. We do not have construction funding for this. I know Mr. Mahoney and Mr. Fournier are working every Fed channel available to try to get us some federal infrastructure funding. I've been a part of a lot of those conversations and filled out a lot of applications. I think at some point within the next year, if the federal stream doesn't open up, that'll obviously be a decision for council to fund this through other sources. But we are trying on multiple fronts some of the funding. This was put as one of the options for the ARPA funding, and we scored, I think, lowest or second lowest. So it is what it is. But this was the ARPA funding process that this was put out there, and it just didn't score high enough for consideration. There are 2 parts that are going to have some impact to the park coming up, and this is all part of the design and engineering. Part 1 is this, in order to get the net zero rating for this, it'll have a geothermal field. In order for them to design the geothermal field, they have to test the conductivity of the soil. I've learned more about geothermal systems than I ever thought I would. So if somebody calls and freaks out about like a welling rig next to Scheffler Park by the fire station, they have to do a test well to determine the conductivity of the soil, because that'll determine how many eventual geothermal wells they would need. So we're not putting an oil derrick next to the park. That's all part of the design and engineering. And then the other part that is required by the Drain Commission as part of this project is infiltration test pits, which is for the stormwater. And a couple of those will be on the Scheffler Park side on the east of Mallett's Creek there. We'll work with park staff with that, but my understanding is those involve a excavator. I don't think it's some huge trenching thing, but there is some, the whole park's not going to get torn up, but there are going to be some impacts there. And I know this is tough to see. These yellow dots are where they're going to do the infiltration, and this is for the stormwater. And again, this is a requirement for this project from the County Drain Commission. This is just since we're having to do land balancing, and along with we are increasing the this project would increase the size, although not much, but it would increase the size of the impervious surface of the court that's still there. So again, this isn't anything that we're going down some unique path. That this is a box we have to check with Drain Commission. So so outside of that, I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate all of your time. There's really not a ask. This was just, we wanted to circle back that we've completed the public engagement that is consistent with parks. I would let Hillary speak to that. We've tried to just let you know that we've kind of come full circle with the public engagement piece of this.
Yeah, and Chief Kennedy, remind me, I know there was talk about next steps for the project being going through site plan approval. So there was, hope to get buy-in from PAC, staff, we've heard from the community that there's not, there's support for this basketball court kind of change, and just looking for PAC to provide support, because I think this plan with these impacts would be going for site plan approval. So just to be kind of ready to go once funding comes through.
Yeah, and we plan on going for site plan approval, even though we don't have current construction funding. So one of the things with these federal infrastructure projects is they want like shovel ready. So us having the site plan approved, like ready to go. And so we're moving along. And in fact, us going through this community outreach kind of delayed the project. Again, it didn't delay it because we don't have funding for construction, but we wanted to make sure that was all set up. So thank you, Hillary, for reminding me of this. That is the next step, is that working with finishing the design and engineering, and we are working with city planning for site plan approval process. So that is the next step.
Thank you, Chief Kennedy. And it looks like Ruth, you will start us off with questions.
Yeah. So just so I understand, well, a question and a thought. The site plan approval, but we don't need site plan approval to move the basketball court. Could that move ahead separately? That's one question. And then I noticed, just based on the location, and I have been to quite a few baseball games there, just maybe a suggestion that maybe you can put seats that face both ways. It looks like right now there's just a little thing, but it would be nice if people could also watch basketball. So.
Yeah, that's a great thought. And I don't know, I don't think the location of the basketball court is really contingent. I think it's just kind of, showing the scope of the project through site plan approval, and kind of showing that we've worked together to kind of, come up with a solution to these impacts. Because I believe the site plan review part of that's kind of combining the parcels for the purposes of this plan. So just kind of showing that we're all in support of this going forward.
And one of the things we can do is we can have for the next meeting is a resolution of support that we can put together from PAC that staff will bring to this group to consider, and then that could be part of the packet as well. So,
Larry?
Yeah, more out of curiosity than anything. Why did we go with a junior high school size basketball court?
I'll step in here. I think it was I think one of the first options we looked at was the preferred site. So kind of fitting on that roller hockey, we just knew that that would be, a good potential place to put this. So I believe, just looking with the constraints with existing trees and kind of that existing site, this was a footprint that could fit there versus like the full court size. So I believe that was what was driving the site, but ultimately the design alternatives were provided by the landscape architecture team working on Fire Station 4.
I mean, the baskets are regulation height. And I don't really know what a junior high school basketball court is.
Yeah, and I plead ignorance on the specific details, but I believe I think the heights are the same. I think it's just a slightly smaller footprint of like the asphalt court itself.
Okay.
Yeah, the baskets will be 10 feet.
Okay.
It's just, and whenever I look.
And I know we did provide, the landscape architect did provide all of the sizes, and to Hillary's point, I think that it would have meant requiring removal of some mature trees in order to do that. And I also am under the understanding that these there's other park facilities with similar size courts, so this isn't an anomaly within the park system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, very few of our outdoor parks are going to be full regulation. I mean, a junior high court is 74 feet by 42. High school is 84 feet by 50. So a little bit smaller, but it's not like your elementary school gym where half court is at the free throw line type of thing.
Okay.
So it is a good size court.
I get it.
Is Scheffler Park, does it continue to be used for baseball? I know Rec and Ed games have been played there in the past, but I haven't gone to any in many years.
Yes, it is still a park that is utilized for games, and the Rec and Ed is offered to use. Over the last 2 years, their numbers have been down a little bit, so they may not use specific ones. But the goal is long term that field is still utilized for games. So. And the court shouldn't impact that because the rink is there right now. So
right. Yeah, I was going to say, I know that existing parking lot that's there we always used it for baseball games. So I can see why, and I'm glad that the community suggested that it stay there. All right. Are there any further questions? Yes, Councilmember Grand.
Oh, I really think this is just a win-win, just a comment more than anything. I mean, I think it's, if we look at, the demand, I think over the last few years for basketball courts has really gone up. And if we look at also what's going into that neighborhood now that Avalon was approved for Viridian across the street, we're having more housing going into that area that's specifically designed for families. So I think it's just, total win-win, and it's an exciting project. We know this fire station is going to happen eventually. And I think just that whole area kind of being an example of what you can do with sustainability in terms of housing and city facilities, really exciting. Oh, but field hockey is played on turf.
Councilmember Briggs.
Yeah, and mine's just a little tangential. This all looks great. You mentioned getting some feedback that was a little outside of scope in terms of just other comments around the park. I was just wondering if we were capturing that and incorporating it into the pros plan update if we didn't get that feedback there as well.
Yeah, some of the comments were really about the crosswalk, I guess, down at Platt. And so we refer them, that was really like transportation, kind of engineering, but yeah, kind of like outside of park's realm of influence. And I think there were some other comments just about the park in general. So we'll be sure to kind of include those just in our notes for as improvements go on at that park going forward.
Okay, that's good. Actually, and it might be helpful to have that Transportation Commission see stuff like that occasionally when it comes in too. I know we've talked about Platt recently, so hearing some of the information around crosswalks would be helpful.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chief Kennedy.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Next up is reports. And we'll start with Josh.
Yep. Hello, everyone. A couple of just quick things. These last 3 weekends, we had a number of special events in the parks that I just wanted to touch on. This past weekend was the Dr. Harold J. Lockett Park celebration. Beautiful weather, great turnout, had just about 75 people show up, including Dr. Lockett's daughter, Cherie, who spoke eloquently and kind of moved everyone that was there. So, but a great event, great to see it. So that was there. The week prior to that, we had a June NAACP hosted Juneteenth at Wheeler Park, which was great to see some activity there, and a great turnout for that as well. And then the week prior to that, the UAP, Universal Access Playground at Gallup, celebrated its 5-year anniversary. And it was a really great event there as well. So I just want to give kudos to Jessica Black and her team, Erica Smith and her team, and Scott Spooner and their team for really working hard over these last few weeks to have some pretty major events take place weekend after weekend. So they were great events, and thank you to everyone who showed up for them as well. The pros plan that was mentioned, the survey was closed the beginning of June. We had almost 2,400 responses overall, which is up from just under 1,100 6 years ago. So we nearly doubled the number of responses, which was great. Staff are really working hard to tabulate that and get the feedback together, but I'm really happy with how the number of responses that we got back from it. Tomorrow at noon is our first public engagement meeting for the pros plan, so out to the general public. Hillary sent out a link, I think, earlier today, or will be sending it out this afternoon. So anyone who would like to join, but we're excited to get out in front of the public. There has been some back and forth about the PAC Pros Plan focus group. There will be a doodle poll that will be sent out. It will be a special meeting that we need to put on the calendar. But please respond. Let us know so that we can get that scheduled, because this group will be able to provide a lot of great feedback for the Pros Plan, and as we talk about some of those topics. So that will be sent out here in the coming days. The ADA study is in full swing. Staff have been interviewed, and a lot going on with that, but we are finalizing the survey that will go out later this week to the community through social media, website, Gov Delivery, all the different communication channels to get that survey filled out as well. It is our summer survey, so that's what we keep talking about. We will be having a public engagement meeting for the ADA on July 14th from 6 to 7. So we'll send out the specific details on that. But that is going to be an official engagement. We are also going to be looking to do another one. This one, I believe, is virtual. The goal is to also potentially have one in person as well after that. And Altura will be here the week of July 11th to start many of their park inspections. So is really moving forward, and we're excited about that opportunity and the data we're going to get. And finally, with the ADA Parks and Altura presented to Cody at their June meeting. So we've reached out to the Commission on Disability and I don't know the inclusion. But we met.
It's Committee on Disability Issues.
Okay, I always forget the I. So they met and presented at that. So that was there. And then over the last couple council meetings, there was a number of solar contracts that were approved by council. And through the OSI has been putting them together along with the ARPA funding and other items, but it will be adding solar to 9 facilities, Buer, Vets, Fuller, Cobblestone, Senior Center, Gallup, Farmers Market, and the golf courses, as well as adding some EV chargers. It's very, very exciting. We've been working closely with OSI to stay up to speed on when those are all going to be taking place, but we're very excited about that, and so should see construction starting in the fall or in the months early. It's almost fall already, which is crazy. So that's kind of it. Summer is going extremely well. The pools are busy, the golf courses are busy, the liveries are busy. Staff have been absolutely amazing. But that is kind of my update for now. Any questions? Thank you much.
All right, thanks, Josh. All right, reports from other relevant commissions. I think, Larry, did you have anything to report on rec?
Yeah, a couple things. The summer camp season started 2 weeks ago. For preschool to 12th grade students, we have over 3,000 registrations for half-day and full-day enrichment and sport camps and Safety Town. We are working with parks for some of the camps. We use like Almendinger and the Eberbach building for various programs. And Jenna has expressed very strong gratitude for the school-city partnership. We also are working with high school students as volunteers in the summer camps. We have 160 high school students who are supporting the summer camps and Safety Town. And Rec and Ed is hiring for the extended day program before and after care in the fall. So not losing track, not losing sight of that, looking for people to hire for that program when school starts again. And that is it from recreation.
All right. Other committees. Does anyone have a report from the park renaming? And so I see Steve's not here, so top of the center of the city, not available. I am on the bike commission, and we met yesterday, and our process is moving along. Josh and the city staff have identified quite a few groups in Ann Arbor that are bicycle related that they'll be reaching out to in order to get a sense for what our needs and interests are as a community around bicycling. And we'll be going through the pros survey responses as well. And then there have been a number of couple of different bike activities that have been volunteer led in the city. One at Bandamer. These were both this past month in June. One at Bandamer and one was at Tübingen Park. So there's a little bit of a sort of volunteer activity going on around bikes, trying to generate interest and make sure our facilities are in really good shape for the kids that are out there bike jumping. Yeah, so that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of work going on kind of in the background right now by city staff to get us where we need to be as far as recommendations go. And then have I forgotten any of the commissions?
I will quickly update on the renaming. We are continuing to work. We're getting closer every day. We hope to have something to pack by the end of the summer, start of the fall. It is a lot more detailed every time we change a paragraph. We have another conversation about that paragraph. So, but it is a great conversation, and I'm excited about what it's going to mean moving forward. So,
all right. Okay, if there aren't any questions about any of the updates, then we can move on. We don't have any unfinished business. So as far as new business, the first item is a resolution to recommend approval of a contract with Wade Trim Associates, Inc. And Hillary is here to talk about that.
Yes, let me share my screen here. Hopefully you can all see it now. Yes, so just to kind of remind everyone, so this is the replacement for the Gallup Park vehicle bridge and pedestrian bridge. We were really fortunate to be successful in having $2.3 million allocated from the city's ARPA funds for this project, which can cover design and construction of the bridge, as well as like the surrounding approach. So because of the grading challenges, we will have to kind of bring the roadway alignment over because the bridge will be built just west of the existing one. And so the next step in kind of moving forward with this project is to go through and hire an engineering firm to do detailed design so that we can have the construction documents and specifications in order to go out to bid and have a contractor ultimately construct it, as well as getting necessary permits because of work within the river. So we put out a request for proposals, and we were expecting to receive 2 proposals from different firms, and we actually only ended up with 1. The other proposal just did not make it in time, unfortunately. So in good news, while we only received 1 proposal, it was from the firm Wade Trim, who worked on the original concept design that we did a couple of years ago. So they're very familiar with the project. We've worked with them personally. They're aware of all the needs and very well qualified for this work. They're proposing to be the prime consultant for the project. So they would be leading the bridge design as well as overall project management. And then their team also includes sub-consultants of Smith Group for kind of the roadway and trail design, as well as some aesthetic improvements to the bridge. And then NTH consultants for geotechnical engineering, so soil borings, locating some utilities and kind of confirming that. And so, we've reviewed their proposal and fees. We feel very comfortable with their qualifications, and given our past experience, they're kind of ready to hit the ground running. So we're recommending to award the design engineering contract to Wade Trim. That's in the amount of $285,524. In addition to that, we're requesting a 10% design contingency, just in case there's any, unforeseen issues that we might need a change order for additional design services. So that would be subject to city administrator approval. So the full amount that's kind of requested is $314,076 for contracting and contingency for the life of the project. In addition to that, we are anticipating that we would be using Wade Trim for construction oversight of the structure during construction. Because there's still details to be worked out with how we will phase construction of the new bridge and the demolition of the existing one, and just needing to get a little further in design before we fully understand that scope. Our intent is to have them do that work, but we'd like to do that as a contract amendment down the road once we have a better understanding of what those needs fully are. So that's not included in this design fee. This fee is just for the design, kind of getting us to that point of bidding it out for construction. So that's just, kind of just for your information. So happy to answer any questions anyone might have about this project and about this contract or design team.
Do we have any questions for Hillary? All right. Go ahead, Erica.
Unfortunately, my dog decided to start barking. Okay. He seems to have quieted down. This looks great. There he is again. I'm wondering, I know that we're just going to design. We don't really know what the anticipated construction timeline is, but I assume this is used as a fairly big connector for pedestrian bike traffic to for school traffic as well. And I'm just curious if we considered that in terms of that non-motorized access, if we would anticipate that this might be a summer construction, or, does there need to be accommodations for trying to maintain some sort of access across, or I don't know if that's been considered in.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, we'd be planning to start design this fall with the hope of bidding it kind of, I guess, late winter, early spring of 23. Then we'd probably not have construction start until the fall of 23. So it'd start in the fall, go through that winter, and then be wrapped up in spring of 24. So we're going to try and, do construction as much as we can in the off season. I think as we move through design, we'll kind of see if there's any limitations to that, but that's the plan right now. And then the other plan, is really deliberate in constructing the bridge just west of the existing one, because the hope is to maintain the existing structure, open as long as possible, so that we're not having, periods without vehicular access or, pedestrian and bicycle as well. So, I think the detailed kind of construction sequencing and how that all, works out ultimately is still to be determined. But that's the hope right now, is that we wouldn't, have limitations to access, because we know this is a really important connector.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
I have a question. So the funding for this will be coming from the ARPA funds. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have $2.3 million that's allocated for this project from ARPA. That was based on a 2020 cost estimate. So depending where the design goes and depending where construction costs go, we do anticipate it probably costing more, just because costs have increased so much from them. So part of the design contract will be them providing updated cost estimates throughout the project. And we anticipate that if it goes beyond that 2.3 million from ARPA, we'll go to some fund balance from the parks, parks and millage. So that's kind of the plan as of right now. And we'll know more once we kind of finalize the design scope going forward.
Yeah, and so for everyone's to be aware, this was a project that was going to happen regardless of the ARPA funds. So the fact that we got $2.3 million from the ARPA funds allows us to keep that fund balance heavier, and allows us to do some things differently in other parks and other things. So this is a necessity project that we appreciate the support of the community as selecting it as a project for the ARPA funds. So.
Are there any further questions? If not, we have in front of us a resolution to approve this expenditure. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Larry. Do we have a second?
I'm happy to second.
Thanks, Rachel. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Right, motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hillary. All right, we are now at the second public comment time. And Josh, do we have any callers on the line?
We appear to. Phone number ending in 606. You can unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes for your comments.
You might need to press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot hear if you're speaking.
We have another number.
Person looks like they're still muted.
Yeah, there you go. So number in six, up there we go.
No, this is Scott Spooner. I'm just
Oh.
listening.
Sounds good. All right.
Sorry.
Well, we have another. Thank you, Scott. We have another caller ending in 194. I'm gonna put you through and *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Parks Commissioners, this is Rita Mitchell calling in, and I was interested in the discussion that you had on the fire station, and I just had some questions that I wanted to offer you for further discussion. The first one really is just what is the parks policy on repurposing parkland for another use? So it's currently parkland where the basketball court is and would be used now for something else, and both are city purposes. And I just wondered what the policy is. I'd also like to know exactly how much parkland is being changed in use. And a question is also, there wasn't a discussion, there was a significant discussion about resilient type aspects or the H0 aspects of the plan, and that includes the solar panels and geothermal, which I think is really excellent. But there wasn't a discussion of using that space or including some aspects of the space for a resilience center, which I thought was a big part of our H0 plan. And it seems like a fire station is a great hub for that kind of thing. I wonder if that's going to be considered. So I'll just go quickly through my last questions. I'd like to know how many trees may be removed, how much more impervious surface will be added, and however it's measured, square feet, square yards, acres, whatever. And also, will the runoff from the increased impervious surfaces be held on site as required for other developments in town? So those are my questions. I really appreciate your discussion and look forward to hearing more about this project. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Rita. Do we have any other callers?
Not at this point.
All right. In that case, I think we will move on. You all have the communications in your packet. We have no closed session today. And so at this point, I believe we stand adjourned. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thanks.
Thank you.